Hey guys, this is Rich and I'm here with Audrey.
Hey everyone.
And we're here to walk you through the brand new Resident Evil 6 demo that just came out today. It was tied to Dragon's Dogma, so you had to buy that game in order to get access to this.
And by Resident Evil, he means Resident Evil.
That was a good impression.
Yeah.
So for this particular video, we're actually going to be looking at the Jake storyline. So as you guys may know, there are three separate storylines in the game. There's Jake, there's Leon, and there's Chris. So we're going to take a look at Chris's. He's going to be assisted by Sherry Birkin.
We're going to look at Jake's.
Yeah.
And he's assisted by Sherry Birkin from Resident Evil 2. You might remember her. She's the little girl with a really messed up dad.
Exactly.
But,
Well, and speaking of messed up dads, actually Jake's dad is Wesker.
So,
So, who, spoiler
you thought
alert.
your parents were bad.
Exactly. And spoiler from Resident Evil 5, Wesker's dead. So Jake's sort of like, I don't know, pursuing his father's footsteps or something. We'll see.
Yeah, it remains to be seen whether he's on the side of good or evil. That's sort of still ambiguous.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I think we should establish right off the bat, because you'll see this either through all three of these demos if you watch them here, or if you actually play the game, is each one kind of has a very different tone.
They do. They do. They play very differently as well.
Yeah, and Jake's is much more pursuit-based.
It is, yeah. It's a little more, it's more action-oriented, not quite as much as Chris's, but yeah, what we're going to see here is a boss fight with that scary dude right there.
Yeah, he's kind of like maybe like the Nemesis type creature. He's not officially a Nemesis to my knowledge, but it's kind of like a Nemesis-esque creature. As you can see here, actually, it looks like some of the bad guys, like the terrorist mutants or whatever, are actually having trouble with this big guy too. So he's on nobody's side. He's not only pursuing Jake and Sherry, but he's clearly demolishing some of these other guys here too.
Yeah, and this guy, you'll see in a bit when we get to the gameplay, he is incredibly powerful. Like, if he gets his hands on you,
you're in trouble.
You're pretty much in trouble.
One thing to note right off the bat, if you haven't played the demo yet and you're going to later today or in the coming days or whatnot, pro tip right here, when it cuts from this cutscene to when you actually have control, which happens within a matter of seconds here,
run towards the screen.
Run towards the screen, because otherwise you die. And one of the things we should bring up, at least in the demo, we don't know how this applies to the full game, of course. There are no saves in the demo.
Exactly. So if you lose in the demo, that's it. You have to start all the way over from the beginning. Watch the cutscene over again and all that.
So here we got the big guy, and he just demolished another poor person.
Little bloodbath right there. It's kind of cool.
And so we're about to cut right over here into the live gameplay, which, for a good chunk of it is just all out running.
Yeah, just running, trying to stay away from that guy, because he actually has a thing where if he gets you in his sights, he can shoot this big metal claw out at you, which it's not good. It's not fun. So. Yeah.
So here we go. So right off the bat, and it's Ustanak is the big guy's name here. You're running, and so like you see, Jake vaulting over some of these things. You're actually just holding down A. There's no command to jump or anything.
It does it for you. But yeah, if you dawdle even a little bit in the beginning there, he's gonna catch right up to you, and you'll be dead and have to start again.
Exactly, and then it should be noted that all of the main characters, Jake, Leon, Chris, are all assisted by a co-op partner who can be played by a friend online. For the purposes of this demo, we're actually just playing single player, but the idea is that someone else could be shared.
Exactly, it's optional co-op.
Exactly. One of the things you'll note, and this is in all of the demos, is you always have the little waypoint indicator over there. You'll see the little door and then a little meter indicator telling you kind of where to get to.
Yeah, I mean, you'll still want to go look around exploring for ammo and herbs and things like that, but yeah, that tells you where your next objective is.
Yeah, I think one of the things to note that I noticed in all the demos a little bit, and you'll definitely kind of see this throughout all of our gameplay, camera needs a little bit of work, and there is a warning sort of at the beginning of all these demos just saying it's a work in progress. The game's not out till very early October. I will say that actually, so these three demo segments that we're playing here that you'll be able to play if you bought Dragon's Dogma are very similar to what we played at E3.
Exactly, very similar.
Though what I would say is that I feel like Capcom's actually already done some tightening up of some of the mechanics, and it felt like the camera's in a bit better control here.
They've tweaked it a little, and like what we played at E3, we only had the option, like in this version, we only had the option to play as Jake, but now it looks like you can play as Sherry.
Yeah, there's a little character select at the beginning of them. And there's actually some other options that are available to you guys early on where you can actually like change between laser dot, laser, like a line to like aim at enemies and stuff like that.
You can change the color.
Yeah, I've never quite understood why you would do that, but if you really want it to be blue instead of red, you can totally do that.
If you really want a purple one, then you can.
Exactly.
You can do that.
So here we kind of see, Jake and Sherry are just sort of investigating, taking out some of the bad guys. I think they're like C virus infected terrorists or something.
And like I said a second ago, it's really important that you case the area for ammo before you progress, because there's not, at least in this area, there's not much ammo around.
Right, and so here we are. We see Jake and Sherry. They're kind of entering this like, decrepit, busted down warehouse.
Yeah.
And this is sort of the main point of the Jake demo. This is the bulk of it. The rest of it, as you'll see, Jake's not alone, and it gets more problematic. One thing to point out here, actually, you see Jake running up to things, and you'll see A pop up, and you'll see B pop up. A is a single player action, so it's like, press A and I'm going to grab this item, or I'm going to, open this door.
Right.
When you see B show up, that's actually something that requires your partner to show up too, that you need them to come over there with you. So right here, you see B. So now Sherry needs to come over too, so that they can both kick open this door.
You'll see more of the partner actions in like the Leon demo,
right.
But be careful when you initiate a partner action if your partner's very far away from you, because you will have to wait for them to catch up before they'll open the door or do whatever.
And you can actually, I think, tap B repeatedly, and they'll be like, hey,
Yeah.
hey, come here, One other thing, interesting note to point out, well, actually, this is important right here. You got Jake, and you can actually shoot while you're on your back now, so if you get hit by an explosion or a really powerful guy, you can actually shout while you're on your back.
That doesn't really help if the big bad guy is near you, because
if he's right there, you're in trouble.
You're screwed. But
one other thing to point out, you see right-hand side of your screen there, you'll see like the little user interface for Jake, a little kind of green thing with the health and everything. That's actually different for Jake than it is for Chris, than it is for Leon. And while the characters, to me at least, I don't know if this is the same for you, Audrey, they play similarly to me. They feel similar, but Capcom kind of went through some extra steps to make sure that, at least in terms of a visual presentation, they're a little bit different.
There are subtle differences, yeah. So you definitely feel like you're on a different adventure depending on whose storyline you're playing.
Yeah, they still do have similar abilities. They sort of punch and sort of interact with bad guys in different ways, but fundamentally same controls. They're all going to have access to the same kind of ideas, movements, and that sort of thing.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, basically your objective right here, you saw it pop up earlier, but it's take down Ustanak. So
exactly,
I mean,
and like Resident Evil fans will recognize those big red barrels. Yeah, shoot it and explode him.
Yeah, I think that's sort of like one of those like tried and true gameplay ideas. So
and this guy takes a lot of damage to take down, so blowing him up with those red barrels is the best way to knock off a bunch of damage all at once.
Exactly.
And he's actually really quick for how big he is, so running is good.
When I was playing through the demo, one of the things I found most effective was you just literally lead him around, make sure he gets to the barrels. There goes Sherry. Ustanak's not going to be too far behind. You actually get a little red indicator there telling where he is. But there's actually a second tier to this warehouse, and there's a lot of barrels up there too that can help you out.
Exactly. But yeah, that's what I found too. The most effective method was just sort of have him follow you around, run like crazy, turn around, shoot a barrel, run like crazy, turn around.
Yeah, and there's a variety of weaponry that's throughout this stage. I mean, there isn't too much. You're not going to be just like sitting there with tons of ammo on your hands, but obviously you're going to use the pistol. You can see the stairs there going to the second tier. You use the pistols to kind of detonate things, but there's also some remotely detonating explosives.
Yeah, there's some flash grenades you can throw if you really need to get away from him quick.
Yeah, and then again, you'll see a lot of the context-sensitive things. One of the interesting things about RE6 is that, unlike maybe say something like Assassin's Creed 3, where your character does a lot of the sort of environmental navigation just seamlessly on their own, this one, it's like you reach a point where you have to jump, you better press A.
Exactly. Otherwise, that guy's going to catch up to you.
Exactly. You're going to be doing a lot of like press A to climb this, press A to climb down this, press A to jump over this. It's a different approach. It's definitely very Resident Evil-esque. I don't know how I feel about it. It'll depend on its sort of overall execution in the final game. But again, that's the bulk of this particular segment. It has a lot less, I would say, sort of environment navigation in the terms of like Chris's and Leon's segments are a lot about going from like point A way over to point B and exploring environments.
Yeah, and just point out right here, you see that Jake actually fell to the ground and he took too much damage.
Sherry
so
just
actually,
got owned.
actually I had to call Sherry over to me to bring me back to life.
Right,
so.
yeah. If you run out of health, you can sort of like call over your partner and they sort of do this like, it looks like they're just sort of hitting your chest, but presumably they're trying to inject you.
Yeah, injecting you with something to bring you back.
Exactly. Again, tried and true little crates on the ground for Jake to open up. An interesting move, while you're usually using X to pick up items off the ground, when you're trying to bust open boxes and stuff, you're actually pulling the right trigger.
Exactly. So yeah, a few subtle differences like that from RE5 or RE4, but
yeah,
you get used to it.
One big difference to me is sort of the camera presentation, and I sort of mentioned earlier that the camera is still having a little bit of issues, but you'll notice that Jake, and you'll see the same thing with Leon and Chris, they're far over to the left, or if you click the right stick, you can actually switch that so they'll be far over onto the right.
Yeah, it's not as centered. I mean, it was never exactly centered, but it's definitely more to the side than it has been in past games.
You'll notice there, and it's less necessary in this because Jake's mostly just trying to run away and kill this guy. But there is a cover system where you're actually able to sort of like back up against pillars and walls and stuff. In this particular demo, you're mostly just trying to run the hell away. You can see here, again, some more barrels, which are really effective. Uzdanak, at least from all of my experience, won't climb ladders. He tends to go upstairs. So, you can get away from pretty easily. Oddly enough, despite all these guys being around, I never really concerned myself too much with them.
They're definitely, they sort of seem to be running from him too, so they're not the ones you need to be looking out for. But yeah, occasionally they'll just pop up like that, and you have to take care of them.
Yeah, and Uzdanak, he won't climb ladders, but he'll certainly jump at you, and there he's like kind of running at you.
And he can run, like you just saw, he can run surprisingly fast.
Exactly.
And he's hard to get by. So.
Yeah, definitely not going to get by him. And see, there you go, another barrel here. And after you take him out enough, you hit him with enough explosions or whatever, grenades and whatnot, you pretty much kind of reach the end of the demo. But,
exactly.
Again, just traversing the environment, that's probably a little too far away to hit him there.
Yeah.
And then, so Sherry's going to do kind of her own thing. I found the sort of AI abilities here to be probably better than Sheva from RE5, who I just generally used kind of like a pack mule to hold my stuff.
Well, that was the thing about Sheva, was that she almost tried to be too helpful because she was always like taking ammo or giving you an herb or whatever, whereas in these demos that we've played, they seem to sort of stay more out of the way, to sort of take care of their own business, which I actually prefer because it's more suspenseful that way.
Yeah, and I mean, again, to reemphasize, the different feels between the three different demos. Chris does have a lot of action in it, so if you watch our commentary or watch the demo or play it yourself, you'll notice it's a very different feel. Lots of action, but at the same time, it's different. You're moving a lot more. You're kind of traversing this city rooftop more. Whereas in Jake's, you're just in this room and you're just trying to get away from this guy. So.
Exactly. Like we said, Jake's intentions aren't entirely clear, so that's another interesting element to his storyline. Yeah,
definitely. One of the other interesting things that they sort of revealed at E3 is the fact that these storylines actually intersect with each other, and you can actually end up pairing online with strangers as these different characters. Like, Jake doesn't know who Chris and Leon are, so as Jake interacts... actually, here we go.
There we go.
So Jake hurt Uzdanak enough.
He's finally taken him down.
All right, so that wraps it up for Jake's segment of the demo. Stay tuned to IGN.com for more.